My dearest John, our men have gone to face the British and secure independence for a new nation. I wonder if they are truly prepared to do so. I sometimes think the passion for liberty cannot be very strong in the hearts of those who deprived their fellow creatures of ours. I long to hear that my husband and the Continental Congress have declared independence. But, as they make our new laws, I urge them to remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than our ancestors have been. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husband. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If ladies do not get the care and attention of this new government, we are determined to start a rebellion. And we will not be bound by any laws in which we do not have a voice or representation. The fact that men are tyrants is indisputable. But those wishing to be happy willingly give up the harsh title of master for the more tender and endearing one of friend. Why not take away the power of vicious men who would use us with cruelty and indignity? Throughout the ages, men of sense have hated the customs that make us their servants. Men should regard us as being put under their protection by God. And like God, they should use their powers only for our happiness. Remember the ladies, and do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Yours, Abigail.
Where there is so much noise, there must be something wrong. Between the slaves in the South and the women in the North all talking about rights. The white men will be in trouble pretty soon. But what's all this talking about? They say women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and given the best of everything. Child, no one ever helped me into a carriage or lifted me over a mud puddle or given me the best of anything. And aren't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered, and no man could lead me. And aren't I a woman? I could eat as much and work as much as a man, and bear the whip as well. And aren't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen them almost all sold off into slavery. And when I cried out with the mother's grief, none but Jesus heard. And aren't I a woman? Now they say women can't have as much rights as men because Christ was a man. Where'd your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Men had nothing to do with him. They say women can't have as much rights as men because of Eve in the Garden of Eden. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, all us together ought to be able to get it right side up again. And now that the women are asking to, the men better let them. Obliged to you for hearing me. And now old Sojourner hasn't got anything more to say.
Let us consider man's superiority, intellectually, morally, and physically. Man's intellectual superiority cannot be a question until woman has had a fair chance. When we have had our colleges, our professions, our trades for a century, then a comparison may be justly made. In consideration of man's moral superiority, in my opinion, he is infinitely woman's inferior. Not by nature, but by false education. Woman has early been taught self-denial and suffering. Man will excuse this by saying God made a woman this way. It does not cost her as much to give up her wishes, her will, her life. But that isn't true. God commands man as well as woman to be kind and good, and we should both share the same code of morals. Now, let us consider man's physical superiority. We cannot grant man even this much until it has been proven. We cannot say what women might be physically if girls weren't allowed the freedom of boys. Climbing, swimming, playing ball. It is use that produces growth and development. And now, we demand our right to vote. We would not feel so upset if only superior men were granted the right, but we are denied, while drunkards and idiots and ruffians are not. Men like to say that we are not fit for the struggles of public life. But we need care and protection. Care and protection, such as the wolf gives the lamb, such as the eagle gives the hare as he carries her to his nest. Most cunningly, he entraps her and then takes her from all her rights.
Certain periods throughout history suddenly lift humanity to an observation point where a clear light falls on a world previously dark. It has been my great privilege to educate the blind and to advocate on their behalf. My student and dear friend, Helen Keller, is blind and deaf, yet she is well aware of the inequalities that plague our nation. It is her words I will share with you now. An organization of women recently took a petition signed by 5,000 women to the New York government. After they waited a reasonable time, they sent in a request to know what had become of the bill. A chairman replied, "A petition signed by 5,000 women is not worth the paper it is written on. Get 5 men to sign, and we'll do something about it." That is one reason why we demanded the vote. We want 5,000 women to count more than 5 men. Throughout the ages, woman has accepted a role below her intelligence. Deceived, denied, bullied. She has frittered away her life in trivial pursuits. But at last, she is beginning to shake herself free of the old laws and customs. She is challenging fear and superstition and facing unafraid the facts that science has discovered. Knowledge is power. It is the heartbeat of humanity. And if one does not feel in the pulsations the promises of heaven, one must certainly be deaf to the harmonies of life.
Women will soon be granted the right to vote. And it will be interesting to see how they will respond to the new duty laid upon them. It is a duty for every self-respecting woman to uphold faithfully. And as these women are not in the habit of failing their duties, there is no danger they will do so now. But we must get out of the habit of classing all women together, thinking of the women's vote as indivisible. There are all kinds of women. Women's vote will no more bring purity into politics than men's vote. We are traditional women, home-loving, housekeeping women. Some may find it distasteful or disobedient to exercise a right to vote. But shall we fail to use the power given to us to support our own farms and families? It is not a privilege to be used or neglected according to individual fancy. Voting has become a duty to be bravely and conscientiously done. we have long since hidden behind our husbands and fathers. Let politics be men's business. But we cannot safely rely on our menfolks. We women know our men are not perfect. Sometimes they make mistakes or have wrong ideas. Now that the responsibility is ours, we shall be obliged to think things through for ourselves. We may be unprepared at present, but there is no reason why we should not be able to vote intelligently by the time we are called upon to exercise the privilege to do so.
A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she's in hot water. Year by year, women's groups in the United States have been making an effort to convince the Congress that men and women shall be equal in every way. Men and women can be equal, but they cannot be identical. They will always have different functions, and though they do the same things, they often will do them differently. That is the real value of having men and women working together. There are many parts of the world where women are not entitled to vote or hold office under the same conditions as men. Equal pay for equal work, educational opportunities, and the status of women in law must still be addressed, even at home. When you try to change an age-old custom, it can be difficult for people to accept the change. They have to be persuaded and convinced, and that takes time and education. It is a daunting task for womankind, but we must not shy away from it. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do.
We are 100 years of progress, united to celebrate the women of the past, and to uphold their vision for a world they couldn't see, but felt within their hearts. We are the voices that fought to be heard, echoing those who fought for our suffrage. And we will continue to shape this nation with our passions and ideas. We are a sisterhood of individuals, of all backgrounds and beliefs. And we will lift each other up so that we all may have an equal opportunity. We are the future. We are America. We are liberty and justice for all. We are the women of tomorrow. And we are
Independent,
Inspired, strong, unstoppable,
Courageous,
Enough.
powerful,
Worthy.
Extraordinary.
Unbreakable.
We are women.